Mouth Sports. Here we are live from the South Tampa studios in a secret bunker in a secret location. We are live. I am your host, as always, Preston Bailey. Hit me on Twitter, Smash TV Radio. Feel free to tweet live. We're going live. We normally don't do shows in the middle of the afternoon, but you know what? We've also got Cam Vieira from New England. Cam, how are you doing?
I'm good, Preston. Good to be here.
Good. The beauty of trying out new equipment and new microphones and new podcasting is the journey. It's never just as simple as plug and play. It's kind of like, today has kind of been like Tom Brady's first start with I almost said with the New England Patriots. No, his first start with the New England Patriots was phenomenal. His first start against the New Orleans Saints, which was a little bit of a debacle the first week of the season, which I expected because the Saints are a great team. The Saints have been a great team for a very, very long time, and Drew Brees is one of the GOATs, and so is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the GOAT of all GOATs. I know people are quick to want to move Patrick Mahomes into that title or Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, and those guys are great, no doubt about it. But last time I checked, Tom Brady's the heavyweight champion of the world. And to be the man, the great Ric Flair, woo! To be the man, you got to beat the man. And Tom Brady is the six-time champion, and here we are full circle. I am more excited about this game, and I'm talking about my Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints, a revenge game, another GOAT versus GOAT game. So far in GOAT versus GOAT games, Tom Brady is 1-0, and I expect it to be 2-0 against another GOAT in Drew Brees. So, Cam, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I know you're in the New England area on your secret bunker, so how's things going on your side of the fence?
It's going good, Preston. Obviously, I'm happy to see Tom Brady doing well. It still hurts to see him in another uniform for us, but it is what it is. I'm happy he's playing well. I wish my team was playing better, but it's great to see Tom Brady still having success at this age and with a great team down there.
Absolutely. 100% for sure. These are our new digs here, our new studio. Not today. I'm not going to move the camera around today because it took us so long to get all the microphones plugged in. I don't want to hit the wrong button and then all hell breaks loose. But yeah, this is the first time in these new studios. I'm excited about this with everything going on. And I'll tell you, not only that, not only excited about the Saints, going against the Bucs this week, my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your New England Patriots. There, show your hat so they can all see your hat there, Cam, the New England Patriots. I know you're going to be rooting secretly or unsecretly for Tom Brady because I did a show. I was looking through some old shows today. 4 years ago, I made a very strong take. I got a lot of heat for it, and I said Bill Belichick is the GOAT. He's one of the greatest coaches, if he's the greatest coach of all time. But at the end of the day, I said, let's see how much of a genius he is without Tom Brady. And so far, as great as Bill Belichick is, I'm not taking a thing away from him. He is great. He is disciplined. But make no mistake about it, Tom Brady is the engine that drives the machine. He's like the greatest driver of all time. You could have the greatest race car of all time, the greatest wonderful. If you don't got a driver that knows how to drive the ship, it's going to crash into the wall and into the ditch and go off the rails. What are your thoughts, Cam?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's always been a raging debate up here for 20 years who was the driving force. Was it Brady? Was it Belichick? There's a split decision on that. Some people feel it was Belichick. Some people feel it was Brady. At the end of the day, it comes down to the guys on the field. Bill Belichick is a phenomenal coach, and he can draw up as many great game plans as he wants, but if you don't have the players to execute it, it's not going to matter. Tom Brady was absolutely the driving force behind the Patriots dynasty, and he's taken the Buccaneers and turned them into the best team in the NFC, if not football, in his first year down there.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you this, and I'm looking at it right here. The Bucs are 5.5-point favorites against the Saints. I don't know about you. The Bucs have had some success against the Saints throughout the years. However, I don't think this late in the season with a 5-2 Saints team or better, the Bucs have ever been favored. Not in the modern day era, not in my, 18, 19 years, except for maybe the Super Bowl year. But other than the last 18 years, the Bucs have not been favored this late in the season against the Saints. I expect it to be a great game, 5.5-point favorites. Now, I've got to say, your team, we'll let you talk a little bit about your team. But to set the stage, your New England Patriots, right now on DraftKings, on FanDuel, all the major sites in Vegas, they're only 7-point favorites against the Jets. Yes, that Jets team. 0-7, debaucherous team. They're going off the rails. They look terrible. Cam, talk about this game. Preview this game from the Patriots side, from a hardcore Patriots fan. Give us your take and tell us why the rest of the league should not lump this Patriots team in there with the Jets.
Well, they should, because in terms
Wow.
of talent, I don't see much of a discrepancy. Obviously, Cam Newton, a former MVP, even though he's having a bad year, he's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. The Patriots have a good secondary. But other than that, the Patriots roster is horrendous. They have no front seven, no offensive line, no pass catchers, no running backs. So other than that, there's not much that separates them from the Jets. So I do expect them to win this game because I believe the Jets are full and we're trying to intentionally lose mode. The Jets want Trevor Lawrence, the next great transcendent quarterback. I don't see a win on the Jets' schedule. I see them going 0-16. 7 points to me is not outlandish because I don't think much separates this Patriots team from the Jets. I really don't.
Yeah, that's a good take. I mean, I'd love to disagree with you, and I know that's probably a lot for you to admit that. But I'm looking at the Bucs. The Bucs have won 6 of the last 7 games. We're going to go against a tough Saints team, but the Patriots. Now, here's what's so fascinating, and I got to bring this up, and we got to talk about this. I was stunned when a couple days ago, the great hoodie Bill Belichick, Mr. On to Cincinnati, said the reason we suck is because of the salary cap. Wow. As it turns out, it's pretty much the same salary cap, or at least within a percentage point, pretty much every year, up or down a couple points. It's not like this year was something magical more than I understand. I understand he lost a lot of players due to COVID. However, I tell you this, I bet you if Tom Brady was coming through those doors, I bet you Dante Hightower and the rest of those boys would not have opted out. I guarantee it. Because they knew that this team was starting to age. They knew they didn't have the young guns to replace Gilmore, to replace the McCourty brothers. They had an old veteran team, which is what Bill Belichick wanted. This is the team that he built. Because I'll tell you this right now, Bill Belichick is getting scrutinized as he deserves. No one's going to punish him for winning 6 Super Bowls, obviously. Okay, he was great, no doubt about it. However, I've heard this from a lot of people on Twitter. There's a lot of people saying that even though he built arguably the greatest team of all time, that, what was that, 2017? Was that the team?
That was the 16-0 team, correct.
That was the team. However, he blew it. He blew it with arrogant calls in the Super Bowl, not kicking field goals, not running the ball, not playing the typical Patriot way. They wanted to rub it in everybody's face and try to get Randy Moss 12 catches for 130 yards. And at the end of the day, they lost a tough game to the Giants. I don't bring that up to bring out old wounds, but here's why I bring that up. Bill Belichick, the GM, is about to get Bill Belichick, the owner, or not the owner, the coach of this team, fired. Not this year, but I'm saying if he continues to draft this debauchery, all I know is this. 2 guys. I want to focus on 2 guys. I don't want to talk about the 30 other busts that they've had because everybody has busts. Nobody's perfect. However, they could have drafted DK Metcalf instead of N'Keal Harry. DK Metcalf, this guy looks like the best receiver in the league. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying he looks like the best. He's big and strong and healthy every game. He is lighting up the depth charts. And for those that play fantasy football, definitely recognize DK Metcalf's style and his stature. And so I want to talk about him. And the other guy I want to talk about, just look at the same team. They drafted Sony Michel over Nick Chubb. If those 2 guys, if the Patriots had DK Metcalf and Nick Chubb, this Patriots team could very well be 5-2 instead of 2-5. Yes, those 2 guys are that great, and I'm talking about DK and Nick Chubb. This team with Cam Newton could have been very well 5-2. Instead, they are 2-5 and in the cellar because of bad draft picks. So, Cam, give me your take on that.
Well, you know about DK Metcalf, Preston. Darius Butler, former safety for the Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts, on his own podcast days ago, said DK Metcalf is the best receiver he's seen since Calvin Johnson. So that obviously is a great comparison. And
whose podcast was that said that?
Darius Butler. He used to be a safety for the Patriots and Colts.
Yes, big fan of Darius Butler. Yeah, I agree with him because and another guy that is starting to get steam, who has very comparables to Calvin Johnson as well, because Calvin Johnson, I know everybody compares to Jerry Rice or Randy Moss, but Calvin Johnson is kind of the new millennium standard, the 6'5", 240 pounds, can run, can jump out of the building, fast, big, and strong, and it's everything you'd like. And then, of course, Megatron, obviously, as they called him. But another guy that's coming along, so you got DK Metcalf, who's very comparable to that size-wise. And I remember reading some of these charts about DK Metcalf. These scouts were crushing him. They were saying, oh, he's like a bodybuilder. He can't twist his hips. He can't move. He can't run routes. He's just a big, strong guy. And then you start to think, well, okay, well, maybe that's true with the scouts coming in that hard. As it turns out, they mixed the scout card. I think the top 100 scouts took the N'Keal Harry card and the DK Metcalf card, and they switched it because N'Keal Harry looks like a big, strong guy that can't run routes, that can't catch, it has stone hands, and DK Metcalf looks like the guy that should have been a first rounder, should have been a top 15, top 20 pick. This guy looks all world, phenomenal. What are your thoughts on that, Cam?
Well, to add insult to injury, Preston, the Seahawks took DK Metcalf with the 64th pick in the second round, which means if you're drafting 64th overall, that's the pick that belongs to the Super Bowl champions, meaning the Patriots traded that pick to Seattle. So not only did they kill Harry in the first round, which was a mistake, they then traded the Seahawks the pick that got them DK Metcalf.
That is brutal. And it's so funny. And it's funny how Bill Belichick, look, obviously he's had some scandals and he's had a lot of controversy, but I hate to say this, and I really hate to nitpick Bill Belichick, but I have to. This is the only season he's also done Subway commercials or any kind of commercial. It's not a coincidence, in my opinion. It's not a coincidence that his ego has gotten overinflated. He's made over $100 million. He makes allegedly $12 to $14 million a year, maybe more, according to some experts, because they're top secret about everything. But he's getting all this money. He kicks out Tom Brady, and he now is making all these Subway commercials and thinking he's a celebrity. And look, you could argue, well, maybe he is a celebrity. Maybe he's earned it. But for the same guy that says toe the company line, he didn't want Brady making any of these commercials. And Brady, for the most part, didn't make a ton of commercials for most of his career, unlike Peyton Manning, who made more. Peyton Manning and Baker Mayfield, I'm not comparing the two, but what I am saying is this. When you're more worried about the off-the-field stuff than on-the-field stuff, your teammates feel that. And to look at the Buccaneers, look at the Bucs. We had a couple games early where we were very sloppy at penalties. Tom Brady ripped the coach, he ripped the team, ripped everybody, and I loved it. And he said, I'm not going to stand for that. And he told his offensive lineman, you're going to block. And they did. And they had back-to-back games of super clean games. No sacks, no turnovers, putting up over 30 points, absolutely dominating. And I loved it. And so I just love the fact that Tom Brady is bringing the Patriot way, for lack of a better word, his discipline to the Buccaneers, and ironically, the Patriots are looking more like the last year's Buccaneers than they are last year's Patriots. I feel like the teams have shifted. I feel like they've shifted and they've switched. And the other thing I want to hit on here, Antonio Brown. I believe in redemption. Okay, he was punished and he deserved to be punished. He was punished for a year and a half. He was officially only suspended for 8 games. That was but we all know. For 15 of the 16 games, he was realistically suspended. Once he was cut by the Patriots last year, he was toxic. Nobody was touching him. He was on his last leg. The only time you can get up off your last leg is if the GOAT himself reaches out his hand and reaches down and brings you out of the ditch and says, you will catch passes for me. What are your thoughts on that, Cam? I think Cam might have froze there. I think North Korea may be hacking us, Cam. What are your thoughts on that? I think you froze there for a second.
I got you now, Preston. No, I mean, Antonio Brown's career absolutely has been saved by Tom Brady. Tom Brady and him formed a relationship when that just 10 days he was in Foxborough last year. And then throughout the rest of the year, Antonio Brown all year was putting stuff on Instagram and Twitter about how he wanted to come back to New England, how he was apologizing to Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. And Tom Brady, every post, would like it. Brady formed the tight bond with Brown. Brown, just like he is now with Brady, living with him in Derek Jeter's house, lived with Tom Brady in Boston when he was in New England last year. Brady got him in touch with Tony Robbins to try and clean up his life. Positive thinking. I think this is a great place for Antonio Brown to be. I agree with you. If he blows this, his career is over. He's in a great spot. He's on the best team in the NFC, maybe the best team in football. If he blows this, he's done.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I want to hit on a few points here. Early in the year, because Antonio Brown was extremely toxic, still in the preseason, it's amazing how 8 games can change a lot. The Bucs are still a great team. We're 6-2, the best team in the NFC. Many people feel we could challenge the Kansas City Chiefs. We could challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's going to be a battle. I think the Bucs are definitely the best team in the NFC for sure because we already beat the Packers, who are 6-1. And I definitely feel confident that we can give Seattle a run for the money because Seattle has no defense at all. Their offense is dynamic. Seattle might have the best offense in the league, them and possibly Kansas City, but the Seattle can't stop anybody. So if I talk about the receivers, we do have Mike Evans, we do have Chris Godwin, who's elite. We had O.J. Howard. So O.J. Howard out for the season, injured. We got to replace him. Gronk is playing a lot better. So is Cameron Brate. Evans has been banged up all season. He's still not healthy. Evans is just gutting it out. He is gutting it out. Evans is gutting it out because we desperately need him. Chris Godwin, I like Chris Godwin a lot, but he's been banged up a lot this year. He has been banged up a lot. He's missed a lot of games on the schedule. In fact, let me just check right now. Chris Godwin has played, it says here he's played 4 games. In my opinion, realistically, he's played 2 because of the 2 games, 2 of those 4 games that he played, he was not himself even close remotely at all. So he struggled. And Scotty Miller is also another talented receiver, kind of a new man's Danny Amendola, but he's been injured because, again, he's a 5'9", slender guy, runs a lot of routes. So the fact that Antonio Brown is coming back, this could not be more perfect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why do I say that? You hit on a lot of great points. Antonio Brown worked out last year for the New England Patriots, played for the New England Patriots, played with Tom Brady. Antonio Brown lived last year for a brief period of time, a very short time with Tom Brady. This year, moving into Derek Jeter's palace, 30,000 square feet on Davis Island. We've both been when it was Derek Jeter's house. The lights are bright. Antonio Brown's, again, I'm going to go a step further. The number 1 receiver this year, as far as the Buccaneers are concerned, is 400 yards receiving for Scotty Miller. That's not a lot. For 8 games in, you would think the Buccaneers would have at least 1 receiver with at least 500 or 600 yards to be on pace for 1,000, 1,100 yards. They don't, because Scotty Miller's been banged up, Chris Godwin's been banged up, and Mike Evans. Our top 3 receivers have been banged up, and our tight end, O.J. Howard, is out for the season. And having that all sounds negative, but it's a positive because we have Antonio Brown. It's the best case scenario, and here was the theory that I've thought about for a while, and I've came to the conclusion. The fact that Tom Brady, for lack of a better word, he's treated Antonio Brown like a professional, but in a sense, he's babying him in a way, which is I look at that as a good thing. What I mean by that is Antonio Brown feels special, and Antonio Brown wants to feel special because he is special. He is a special player. He is an elite player, and receivers are at a different level. I look at Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown wasn't happy in Cleveland because he didn't feel appreciated in Cleveland. I know he had a few good games. At the end of the day, he's injured for the season, and I expect Odell Beckham's career to be done with Cleveland. I expect them to trade him or get rid of him in Cleveland. I think they're ready to move on with him. They're moving on to Cincinnati. And I think Antonio Brown has a realistic chance because of the one game he played last year for New England, and if you have the stats, Cam, I have it, but I believe he caught 4 or 5 passes for 62 yards and a touchdown at the half. Fantastic game. They didn't need him in the second half because they dominated that game. But I see a very similar results. I see him coming right out of the gate, getting 4 or 5 catches, getting 60 or 70 yards, getting a touchdown, maybe 2 if we're lucky. And Chris Godwin picked a very, very bad time in his career to get injured, a horrific time to get injured. It's never a good time to get injured, but it's a worse time to have hamstring problems, and it's even worse to break your finger last week when he caught that touchdown, and then one of the greatest receivers of all time, Antonio Brown. Make no mistake about it. He's looked great in practice. You can argue, well, I don't like Antonio Brown because he's crazy and he throws gummy bears at people. That's all true. At the end of the day, as long as Antonio Brown figures out how to work with Tom Brady, as long as he doesn't go on this phone and hit Twitter and hit Instagram and hit TikTok and make all these crazy videos, as long as he stays off that, he's gold. What are your thoughts, Cam?
No, I agree. I mean, absolutely. He's got it. The thing that got him last year was it wasn't the allegations that came out while he was in Oakland. It was while he was in New England, he then continued to threaten and harass one of the women with allegations against him. That came out on a Friday afternoon, and hours later, Robert Kraft cut the cord. Robert Kraft made this decision over Bill Belichick, over Tom Brady. It was an ownership decision to get rid of Antonio Brown. He needs to stop at this time. He needs to put the phone down, put Twitter down, put Instagram down. You remember when he recorded his conversation with John Gruden and put it on YouTube, trying to get himself out of Oakland. He needs to put the phone down. His career is at stake. He's lost a ton of money these last few years. His career and his livelihood is at stake this season. He needs to put the phone down.
Yeah, if he could just put the phone down. And here's the thing. He is a little he's a little, I don't want to use the word toxic, but he is definitely very, I would say he's like lava, okay? Lava can be great if you're trying to mold a great sculpture, but lava can also burn your house down. So that is the thing with Antonio Brown, is he is dynamic, he is phenomenal, he is earth-shattering to a different level. And I think the fact that he can run every route in the route tree. He can go short, he can do curls, he can do slants, he can go deep. This guy runs every route in the route tree. Make no mistake about it. If you ask me right now, would I rather have Antonio Brown on his value of a deal over Julio Jones, who's close to $30 million? Yes, I would rather have Antonio Brown. If you're asking me, would I rather have Antonio Brown at the $1 million he's getting over DeAndre Hopkins near $30 million? Yes, I would take Antonio Brown, because both of those receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio, they're still great. They're still elite. No one's disputing that. That $30 million price tag, you can't get over that, because Arizona's played okay this season. Atlanta has not played okay. Atlanta's played terrible. You got a $49 million, damn near $50 million you got to give Matt Ryan next year. Dead cap money we're talking about. You've got close to $30 million in Julio Jones. So we're talking about well over $70 million Atlanta Falcons have to play to two guys. The one thing that I will say that is good about the Patriots, if you want to be rosy, get some rose-colored glasses, they do have a lot of salary cap. They do have a fair amount of draft picks. Here is the million-dollar question, because I saw this today. We're moving forward past. We've covered the Bucs. I feel good about them. If they win today, there's going to be electromagnetic energy in the streets in Tampa Bay like you wouldn't believe. The Patriots are going through with the Patriots. The Patriots, they better win by 10. They better win by 7. They better win by 10. If they win this, I'm telling you right now, if they win this game by 3 points, Patriots fans are going to see this as a loss. What are your thoughts on that, Cam?
No, I agree with you. I absolutely. They should dominate this Jets team. I know dominate's too strong. They should win this game by 1 or more scores. If this is a tight game in the fourth quarter, even if they win, that's going to feel like a loss, because this Jets team, I think this Jets team is worse than the Browns of 3 years ago, and I think they're worse than the 2008 Lions, the two winless teams in modern NFL history. I really do, because there's no talent on that team. They've traded away all their best players, from Jamal Adams to Le'Veon Bell. They've made 2 trades in recent weeks. They sent a defensive tackle to Tampa, a linebacker to Pittsburgh. They are a dumpster fire of dumpster fires, and they might have the worst head coach of the modern era in Adam Gase. So if this game should not be a contest, as bad as the Patriots have played, they're still better than the Jets. This game should be a 7 or 10 point game. Absolutely.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of good points. I'd love to disagree with you. Sometimes I like to argue just for the simple fact of arguing, just because it's fun. And I can't even put up an argument. The Jets, this is the worst team I've ever seen. They're horrible. They are horrible. They traded Jamal Adams, their best player. They traded Le'Veon Bell, their second best player. They traded a very good run stuffer that the Buccaneers got, Steve McClendon, who's still very talented, who a week ago got 7 solo tackles in his first game with the Bucs. I cannot give enough love to Steve McClendon to come off the bus and get out of the car and get 7 tackles as a 300-plus pounder. Phenomenal. But to get back to the Jets, their offensive line is dilapidated. Their defensive line is dilapidated. Sam Darnold looks like a total dumpster fire. And I like the guy, okay? I remember when he was drafted, Coward said he was great. Everybody said this guy was great. He was a #1 pick, according to everybody's slam dunk. Is there still debate, Baker and Sam Darnold, who's better? Obviously, right now, Baker looks better because he's in a much better situation. Some have heard rumors that Sam Darnold could end up on a team like a New England, just because New England's going to maybe take a flyer on a Mitchell Trubisky, on a Sam Darnold, a guy that's career has been a little sandy, a little salty, didn't go the right direction. But the thing that I saw today when I left the house, I thought this was a fascinating debate, and this is how I want to end the show these last 5 minutes. Cam, are you with me?
I'm with you, bro.
Give out your Twitter. Before I give this take, give out your Twitter to the people.
You can find me at Twitter at Cam, C-A-M, in Taunton, Taunton. That's my hometown here in Massachusetts.
Absolutely. And you hit me up at Smash TV Radio, and I'm calling. And if Conor McGregor wants to fight, if he, now that Khabib is retired, if Conor needs a warm up fight and he wants to go, if Conor wants to go, we'll go. I'll go in it with Conor. I'm fired up today. I'm ready to go. I'll tell you, that's another reason that I'm excited about doing this podcast today. I tell you, I could not sit around the house any longer and watch these awful, debaucherous debate shows. This percentage, they don't know. Who is this guy? Is this kind of saying these guys don't know anything. I love it when they're calling this state and that state when they got 70% of the vote. Guys, these political people are clearly not sports fans. Okay, all I could think about all night was Tom Brady. You're thinking, what does Tom Brady have to do with politics? And no, I'm not talking about when Trump had his MAGA hat on. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm not going to derail the show. All I thought about last night, these political pundits are not sports fans. What I mean by that is 28-3. Okay, I'm watching this and I'm like, guys, Atlanta fans were popping bottles at halftime, 28-3. They were popping bottles and they were eating shrimp cocktails at halftime, and they were toasting wine and champagne, and they were having themselves a grand old time in the halftime of that game. And then what happened? Tom Brady knocked on the door. He said, hey, guys, you understand I'm still in this game? Do you guys understand we still got 2 more quarters left? So I firmly believe, and this is why I love Tom Brady, because Tom Brady gives you that confidence. The game is never over. You fight to the death, okay? No matter what, getting Tom Brady was great. I have to be honest. I knew Tom Brady was going to be great with our weapons. The fact that people are saying, oh, well, Tom Brady, Max Kellerman, you sent this tweet to me earlier and messaged me, oh, Max Kellerman's like, oh, they could win with Nick Foles and this guy and any top 15 quarterback. First of all, no, they wouldn't, number one. Number two, we're not getting, the Bucs have not had all-world athlete O.J. Howard all year. He's been injured, out for the season. You haven't had Pro Bowl Mike Evans all year. He's been banged up. And you haven't had Pro Bowl Chris Godwin because he's only played 4 games. So and you haven't had 100% Gronk because he's learning the system. So all these fantasy narratives and these podcast narratives are simply not true. Tom Brady has been the driving force for this game. The fact is this. Earlier in the season, we got into a debate because for some reason you sided with Ronald Jones over Tom Brady, which I will never understand that logic. When Tom Brady hands the ball and Ronald Jones runs like an oaf that doesn't know how to read or write right into the ball, and the ball goes flying, much like the last game against the Giants. And I'm telling my guys, my Bucs fans, everyone's like, oh, we need to beat them by 15 or 20 or 30. And hearing guys on the radio, oh, lock it up. This is the stone cold lock of the year. Okay, first of all, I told everybody 12.5 points. Okay, not to get too deep into gambling here, but for 12.5 points, number one, the New York Giants are a tough team. I've got to give Judge a lot of credit. He has built. I know you look at the record, like, wow, they're terrible. They're not terrible. Their team, they lost Saquon Barkley, their best player. They've had injuries at receiver. Evan Ingram has been a little banged up, and Evan Ingram has not been. He's had a couple games, but he hasn't been 100% dialed in. I feel like the Giants need to get another bigger, stronger tight end to help out Evan Ingram. I look at Evan Ingram as a Jimmy Graham type. He's finesse. He's a great athlete, but he's not a Gronk. He's not a George Kittle. He's not even a Travis Kelce as far as that goes. So they need to work on him a lot. But the point that I'm saying is this: getting Antonio Brown back for the Bucs is going to be huge. It's going to be dynamic. But the point is, he's 43. It's Tom Brady versus the field. Tom Brady most wins. Tom Brady most touchdowns. All after 40. He's breaking and shattering records at an alarming rate. So the last thing that I want to say, which I found fascinating, I want to get your take on this. As of today, with tiebreakers, the Dallas Cowboys are projected today, could change, 4th overall pick. The early rumors are they are heavily leaning towards, I know we're halfway through the season, we're talking about the draft, but we have to bring it up. The Dallas Cowboys season is in the dumpster. Hit me at Smash TV Radio. Would you draft Justin Fields? Cam, let's hear a thought. Now, you're the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, we understand they have Dak in the wings. We understand they franchised Dak for this year. He's getting $30-some million this year. They could franchise him again for another $37 million and change. What would you do if you're Dallas? You draft Justin Fields if he's there, or you re-sign Dak for a year or longer? How would you handle that as a GM of the Cowboys? What would you tell? We're in the room. I'm Jerry Jones. Hey, come into my office, Cam. This is the big Jerry Jones. Rah, rah, rah. What do you suggest? You're one of my scouts.
I'm re-signing Dak Prescott because a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, as you would say. I know Dak Prescott he's not an elite quarterback, and I know he's injured. He's a very good quarterback. Drafting a quarterback high, as you and I have gone over many times looking over drafts, is the ultimate risk in the NFL. It can cost you your jobs. It can cripple organizations if the guy turns out to be a bust. If they had 1st overall and Trevor Lawrence was there, I'd say draft Trevor Lawrence because he's the next surefire prospect. But take the known guy. You're going to be able to get him cheap now because he's injured, or you can franchise him to make sure he doesn't get on the market again. I re-signed Dak Prescott, and I used that high pick on a positional player to improve the god-awful defense the Cowboys have.
Okay, now that's a good take. I'm actually really torn on that. I'm actually really split on that because I love Justin Fields. I love this guy. To me, I think Justin Fields can be better than Dak Prescott. I know that's a big statement, but part of it is the fantasy of the draft. Sometimes the allure, the excitement of what a guy could be, sometimes can get your mind running away with what you do have. I would agree the bird in the hand or two in the bush. If Dak was healthy, I would say Dak. I would like to see how his rehab goes. I'm not going to give you a 100% answer until I see if his rehab went great and they were confident, I might be tempted to do that. But you know what I also might be tempted to do? I might be tempted to do both. I might be tempted to franchise Dak for 1 year for $37 million to roll the dice and let him train Justin Fields if he's there, and then do that. That's a scenario. But here's my concern with Dak Prescott. And I know you're a big Dak Prescott fan, and I like Dak Prescott too. However, my concern with Dak Prescott, I did predict the Cowboys to win this division with the key of if Dak was healthy. But I said I think Dallas, my preseason pick, I think they win 7 or 8 games again. Because I think that division, I thought it was a dumpster fire preseason. I'm even more convinced that it's even more of a dumpster fire. I'm even more convinced the first team to get 6 wins in that division, they're going to win it. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think they deserve to make it. And if they do, and they went to 7 teams, I don't care if they do go to 8 teams. I don't think they should be one of the 8 teams whoever wins this division if it's Philly. So my concern, my last thing I'll say, we got about a minute to go. My last thing I'll say regarding Dak Prescott, my concern with Dak Prescott, they've got running backs for days with Zeke and Pollard and everybody. They got receivers for days, CeeDee Lamb. They do not have an offensive line. And I've yet to see how Dak can win with – I think Dak is so comfortable after 4 years of having a dominant offensive line. I just don't think he can go backwards. What's good about Joe Burrow, what's good about Justin Herbert, these guys don't have great offensive lines, and they are making it work. They are making it happen. Dak Prescott came in the opposite direction. Dak Prescott, rookie year, moves into the penthouse. Okay? The first year, he's smoking cigars, drinking martinis behind the best offensive line with the best running back and the best receivers. He's going down. So he's going to be injured. He's going to be concerned. I just feel like Dallas, they have to revamp their offensive line. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters if they get Dak Prescott. I don't think it matters if they get Jimmy G or if they get Justin Fields and Trevor. They can get the whole group together. They can go 2 quarterbacks at the same time. Dallas isn't going anywhere until they get their offensive line. So last question, Cam. You're the Cowboys. Would you suggest they choose a defensive player or an offensive player? So offensive line or defensive line with their 4th overall pick if they get there?
Defensive line. Because I think their offensive line, they had some opt-outs. They're banged up. Their defense is horrendous. They need to – you can have Patrick Mahomes and his group of pass catchers. If you have the Cowboys' defense, you're not going anywhere. They are the 2nd worst defense in the league behind Seattle, who has Russell Wilson, probably the favorite league MVP right now. So if I were the Cowboys, it's defense. You have to get a high-impact defensive player in the draft and re-sign Dak Prescott because as great as I agree with you, I like Justin Fields myself, but you have a quarterback in Dak. You need to make that defense better. You're not going anywhere with a defense. They give up 49 points to the Cleveland Browns, a run-first team. That's all you need to know.
That's a great point. We're going to end it there. Cam, thanks again. We'll tune in next week. Hit me up at Smash TV Radio. I'm your host, as always, Preston Bailey. Thanks again, Cam. We're out.
I'm Preston.